The execution down the stretch was as good as we've had. Thought it was really good. I felt, we met as a staff at halftime, and I don't know what the score was, 43-all or something like that, and I just felt like we were getting great shots. And I thought the best way that we could talk about it was what we talked about earlier in the day was we weren't giving up transition baskets, and we were doing a good job on the glass. Like, we were really locked in. We just weren't making anything. And then we went on that stretch where we made some shots, and I didn't think they were any better than the shots we missed in the first half. They just went in.
Celtics beat the Atlanta Hawks 106-93. We're going to break it down here on the Garden Report, brought to you on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog. Welcome to the show. I'm Jared Weiss, and this vested fellow right here is Jimmy Toscano from Comcast Sports in New England.
Man. They're making an ice skating rink.
It actually is like 20 degrees colder than it was about an hour ago.
I'm feeling good now, though.
Yeah, I'm feeling the jacket here.
My arm's not so much, but body's feeling good.
All right, well, your arms might not have been hot, but the Celtics were. They were shooting the ball really well tonight.
Second half.
Pretty well tonight in the second half.
Yes.
They took 103 field goal attempts.
Nuts.
And
compared
it was pretty crazy.
76, I think.
76, that's right. So 27 more shots than the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
crazy.
That's like an entire quarter's worth of shots, basically.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing. But Isaiah Thomas, who scored well tonight, and he didn't shoot the ball 50%, but he was still relatively efficient.
He was huge in the second half.
Huge in the second half. Had
shots.
a ton of assists in the second half. He was passing the ball really well tonight. His ability to get into good positions, whether it was like short little pick and rolls where he would kind of take a couple dribbles and kick back to the guy behind him. What I really love, especially he did earlier in the game, was the kind of Rondo or Steve Nash type plays where he would dribble around the entire defense. He would poke his head back out in the middle of the paint and then kick it to an elbow shooter. And we're seeing a more well-rounded Isaiah Thomas passing the ball, at least, since he's been in the starting lineup.
Yeah, it's when you look at his stat line, maybe in the first half, and he's like 3 for 12 or something, you're like, ooh. But he's not just a shot chucker. He does make some nice passes. My favorite pass that he made, I think it was to Jay Crowder, but he drove to the lane and he went around the defender, dished it to the streaking Celtic, I believe it was Jay Crowder, and easy
he did
layup.
it in midair, too.
Easy layup. Yeah. He went up, making it seem like he was going for a layup, went under the defender, wrapped it around him. That was great, but that is a pass that Rondo used to make. Those types of passes that would be like, he's the only guy in the league that can do that. Rondo's the best. We were going to put up with all this crap. Oh, wait, like some of these other guys are actually pretty good too. And I think as Isaiah Thomas, what he gives you on offense is much more than what Rondo could give you on offense. And he does have that ability, even though he does shoot more, so there's less opportunities for some of those assists, but when he does actually get into assist mode, he can make some pretty flashy passes.
Great Boston media impersonation, by the way.
Thank you.
You really nailed down
I was only impersonating myself.
Yeah, that was kind of the classic Comcast Sportsnet editor impersonation there. And Isaiah was really good at passing the ball, but they ran a lot of sets that they executed well tonight. I felt they did more than usual. There was one particular play that happened in that huge 10-0 run to end the game in the fourth quarter, where they inbounded to Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder has it at the top of the key, and Amir Johnson starts to set a pick on the left side, but Jay Crowder does what Jay Crowder does best, and he just drives beelines for the hoop down the right side. You're thinking, this is going to be a mess. And then he spins around at the last second after he's got 3 guys up in the air, and there's Amir Johnson on that delayed pick and roll right there, and he finishes over Paul Millsap or Al Horford, forget which one. But that was really indicative of the Celtics' execution tonight. A lot of really nice deceptive plays, a lot of guys making plays that aren't necessarily their role.
No, and I think that execution down the stretch, I think Steven said that was probably the best. That was the best they've done this season at the end of the games. And obviously, I mean, in the last 3 minutes of the game, they outscored them 10-0. They didn't let the Hawks score a single point. But yeah, it was like making that extra pass, not just rushing into shots, not just, one and done and getting back, trying to get back on defense. These guys really worked the ball around. They're moving it left to right. They're not just going forward with it. And I think that really was the difference in this one.
All right, let's go to the Grandstand play of the game, our new sponsor, Grandstand, from fans in the stands. You're at a game, film it on your phone, upload it to Grandstand, and of course you can go to Grandstand if you're not there and see the first-person point of view from all the fans in the stands. So go to the Grandstand app in the App Store or download at grandstand.me. Take a look at this play. Zach Randolph with the putback to win the game for the Memphis Grizzlies. Huge winner for them tonight. We don't have
they came back and won.
I know, right? We don't have a segue into that game as we're talking about the Celtics. And let's talk about a guy that filled a similar role for this team tonight, Kelly Olynyk. No, just kidding.
I was like, oh boy.
We'll talk about
How
that
am I
kind of
gonna
stuff.
make this one
We'll
work?
talk about the putbacks and rebounding in part 2, but I want to talk about Kelly Olynyk here quickly before we go to part 2. He had one of his best games of the season, and he's clearly more confident and more consistent so far this season. And it was Jared Solinger who talked about his improved maturity, that last year, if Kelly had a bad game, he could have been down for 3 games in a row. But this year, he's bouncing right back. He had a mediocre game last game. He comes out tonight. He had 3 catch-and-shoot threes tonight, which was exciting to see. Seeing him coming, he was running actions like a shooting guard was running. He was running like Kyle Korver type actions. He's 7 feet tall. That's pretty huge.
No, and he's a guy that doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. I mean, that can drive some people mad, but when you do get into these ruts, you don't want to get too down on yourself. When you get hot, you don't want to get too confident or cocky in yourself. You want to stay even keel. That's Olynyk. And the thing I really like about Olynyk is he seems to be very content with his role coming off the bench. And so far this year, we've had guys going in and out of the lineup every single day. There's a different starting lineup. But it's been consistent that Olynyk is the guy off the bench. Now, obviously, he missed the first game. He was a little cold the first couple of games. But since then, I mean, he had a great game tonight, and he had another great game earlier last week. I think it was in Washington. Mm-hmm. Everyone had a good game in that game. But him particularly, coming off the bench, I mean, he really does give them, that next level of bench production when he's on his game, when he's stepping into those three-pointers. That's what they need him to do when he comes in there and stretches the floor like that. And he also has that inside-outside game going on. So I really liked what I saw at him tonight, and they need more of that going forward.
The catch and shoot threes were great, but the biggest play for him was he actually had a nice post move. He got a lot of mismatches with Thabo Sefolosha was trying to cover him, and Thabo Sefolosha is a great defender, but he's also a lot smaller than Kelly Olynyk. It's a tough matchup for him. So Kelly got the ball, put him on the block, backed him down, then had a nice little spin move to the inside where he flipped up a little finger roll underneath him. I hate to do this, but Al Jefferson. It's a very Al Jefferson type move compared to the god of post moves.
As long as you're not
going
to say Dirk, I'm so sick of the
Dirk.
Yeah.
So no. But it was nice to see Kelly actually making low post moves because we don't really see those very often. Even though in the summer league he was out there like Al Jefferson, but he gets the mismatch, and we're hoping that more and more throughout the season they'll be able to identify times where he gets the mismatch and they'll be able to post him up. So let's go to part 2 here. We'll be right back. This is the Garden Report on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog.